Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life, with Nicola, Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, well, welcome everyone. It's Nicola Cairncross here on the Own It, Your Business and Your Life podcast. And in the second of our series of very special August episodes, we've got one of my most favourite clients of all time, Irene Conlin, on the line, who's become a really good friend over the years. And that only happens with a very few clients, doesn't it, Irene? I think we could say we've become friends.
I would certainly say that. Yes, definitely.
We have the same sense of humour about certain things, don't we?
That always helps.
Yeah, it does. It does. So we're not going to turn this into an interview show. I've had very strict instructions from Shishal, who's the main name.
Judith did say that, didn't she?
Yeah, but what I would like to know, I mean, for the people who don't know who you are, who perhaps aren't in one of our groups and have got to know you like that, can you just tell us a bit about your background and who you are and what you're doing now?
Okay then. Well, probably it's fair to say that I grew up in a world very male dominated within the construction sector, and when I worked within the corporate arena in there, very much looked after the business support side of things. Mm-hmm. So got heavily involved in marketing, HR, business improvement in general, and was just really had a passion for that, really enjoyed it, could really get into some of the nitty gritty. And about 8 years ago, decided to step out on my own to really help other small business owners predominantly.
When you say small,
benefit from education. Anywhere between 10 and 100 employees.
Okay, so when people say some people think of kitchen table businesses, solopreneurs, you're talking about SMEs really, aren't you?
SMEs, yeah, within our definition in the UK certainly. So sort of kind of up to 100 is my sweet spot.
Okay. What about turnover? Define that as turnover for us.
Anywhere over, between 1 and 10 million.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And how did you get started in that sector, and what did you do for these people?
I kind of chose the sector because that's where I'd had all of my corporate experience. In fact, I'd been in the construction sector probably since the age of 6, when my dad had a joinery workshop, and I worked there probably every weekend, making tea and sweeping up and making things easier for him. I think that's probably where the business support side thing. So I make a great number 2, as they say. Yeah. You know, that right hand person that just makes things so.
Yeah, makes things happen.
Yeah.
And so where are you up to now?
So now kind of have the main brand that I work under, if you like, is called Building Top Companies, and that's kind of the central hub for the support services that we're able to offer, both around marketing, around HR and general business improvement. And recently launched a membership site linked into that, that helps managers who have responsibility for getting results through us at work.
Cool, very cool. Now, we've had lots of conversations about membership sites because it's obviously a passion of mine. And if you want to know a bit more about Irene, you can do a search on Google. Just put in Business Success Factory and Irene. In fact, we did that. Did I change the name because you changed your name, didn't you?
I'm not quite sure. I did. Yes.
It might be under Irene Liddle, Liddle, or it might be under Irene Conlin. Can you spell your surname for everyone?
It's Conlin.
Okay, cool. So if you search on Google on that, then, and we'll also try and put a note to that interview in the show notes. So I interview Irene at depth on that one, and you can find out more about her, because some of your clients have had quite notable successes, haven't they, with you at the helm?
Oh yes, yes, I have. Yeah, yeah, definitely. We've had some amazing successes personally and within business.
Yeah.
So
You're a modest person, so you weren't going to bring that up unless I did. So let's crack on with the show.
Yeah, let's get
as
on.
Vaynerchuk would say. So tell us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. Tell us about your week, Irene. What's been happening on your week this week?
Well, a couple of notable things, and Judith did say here that I could have a mini rant, which is not usually my style,
No.
I must say. But yeah, well, there's two things that's happened. I had some time away. We went away for a couple of nights on a mini break because we cancelled a holiday recently, and that was really interesting because we came home yesterday, and I said to my other half, I said, this is just so tiring.
Going away for a weekend.
Realising it's actually, it's unless we're on a cruise, we don't sleep as well outside of our other beds than what we usually do at sleep at home. So you come back to work. So this morning I was feeling shattered, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, what's the point of going away if you're going to come back more tired? So I've decided that unless we're going away on holiday, we're just going to have days out and come back and sleep in our own bed.
I think that's a really good idea. I find travelling quite tiring. I mean, I think you've got to have at least a minimum of 4 nights somewhere, because I never sleep well the first night in a new bed.
No, I'm all right. I'm all right if it's just me. So, say if I was going to a conference or doing something away on business, that's absolutely fine. I can get in my own routine. But it's when you're doing a coupley thing.
Yeah.
That I found it exhausting. Really. So you've spent all of this money, hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and you just come back and thinking, well, okay.
No, your other half's not going to listen to this then.
Well, no, probably not. Although he's in the other room at the moment. And the other thing, we've got. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to ask you what your mini rant is. You haven't actually swung into one yet.
Oh, no. Well, the mini rant is, the people who do know me know that my office, which I have at home, looks out over some magnificent fields and woodland and just an absolutely gorgeous view. And we were at a local council planning meeting last night because there's an application in to put 750 houses.
Oh no!
In that view. So I thought, so we'd already put in all our objections and the likes, and it was the council meeting last night, and what a complete and utter waste of time. They've made up their minds, it's going to happen. so why bother? Why bother having a meeting that the public are invited to if there's nothing that can be done? So pointless. I
just think it's really, when there's so many brownfield sites that could be developed, to go into a greenfield site is just unacceptable.
Yeah, well, and I agree. And there's part of me recognises that I feel so passionately about it because it's on my back door.
Yeah.
And I recognise that plays a big part, but still, it's a beautiful, beautiful space, and there are some absolutely unbeautiful spaces within the city that could be used. But this is an easy site. It's an easy sell.
Right. It's just terrible.
So that's my rant.
I'm so cynical about politics sometimes. You just realise that the ordinary person just really doesn't have a say, and
no,
people with money.
And it was really,
it's actually a negative belief. It's a negative belief I'm trying to shift, because when you believe that it's the people in power and the ones with money that run things, and you think that's a bad thing, that's actually counterintuitive, counterproductive for your own abundance, isn't it?
Well, it is, and I've been struggling with this big time because I have similar understanding of beliefs to what you do. So I'm thinking, okay, I can't control what's going to go on out there, but I can control where I choose to live.
That's true.
I can control that I'm not prepared to live on the end of a building site for 10 years.
Yeah.
That is down to me. So regardless of what goes on out there, there are still plenty of choices, an infinite number of choices that can open up as a result. And actually, this might be the best thing that ever happens, because it might mean that it's a catalyst for something else.
Yeah.
So but when you're in it at the moment, I'm feeling a little bit peeved off.
Especially having been to the meeting, which was a waste of your time. You could have spent it in the pub.
Oh, and it's just the old-fashioned way that they go on, you know. And the council officers, the panel at the front, and the chairperson who thinks he is literally the Lord God, and can just tell people to shut up at any time that he wants, and can I speak through the chair, and all that formality, and you just think, just get a life. It's like, really?
Oh, you can hear your exasperation. Really? You really can.
So what's been happening in your week?
Well, I had two very interesting experiences yesterday. In fact, I did a Facebook live video about it. I'm not sure I did it justice, because looking back on it, it's still rankling, as it were. The first one was when someone referred someone to me by email, and who was looking for someone to do Facebook ads cheap, who was highly skilled but inexpensive, was their exact phrase. And first of all, I was a little bit miffed to be referred to as inexpensive. But which actually made me think quite a bit, because I have actually taken the prices off my website now, because everyone kept telling me that I was undercharging for Facebook ad services, and that was why I was attracting clients who were perhaps not quite as abundant with their budget and a little bit, not quite ready for me. So I'm running an experiment at the moment of taking the prices off to see if it improves people signing up to talk to me, and whether it improves the perception that I'm not cheap, inexpensive, shall we call it? Anyway, yeah. But the thing that really struck me about this particular exchange was, I went back to the woman. I said, no, we like to work slightly differently. Most agencies will charge you a percentage of ad spend, and that ad spend has to be over $10,000 a month. And we work a little bit differently. We like to work with people who are just getting started with pay-per-click. So we charge a fixed fee, or 20%. So as you grow and you expand your budget because things are going well, we would then swap onto a percentage of ad spend, because obviously the more you spend, the more work it is for us. Anyway, so that was all right. So I said, so why don't you give me an idea of what your budget is and what your profit is on your first product you'll be selling after you get the lead, and I'll tell you if there's any way we can do anything for you. And she came back and she said, well, I don't know the answer to that question. And I thought, this is just so typical. You don't know, you're trying to find someone to run Facebook ads for you, but you don't know how much your budget is per day, per month, whatever. Basically, what these people who do say these things are doing is they're trying to spend as little as possible and get the biggest result for nothing, basically. And she then came back and said, do you know anyone in the Philippines you can recommend? And I thought, you are so missing the point of this. Yes, there are people in the Philippines who technically might be able to set up an ad and set up a page likes campaign, but they won't be doing it right. They won't be thinking about your personal strategy, your business strategy. They won't be thinking about the desired end result, i.e., are you looking for just leads, any old leads will do, or are you looking for someone who's actually going to buy your first, second and third product? And I just got completely exasperated by that. And then the second thing that wound me up was someone referred someone to me who is actually extremely successful, has got 3 big Facebook pages. We're talking 2.6 million likes on one of them. And
wow.
He's part of the old school affiliate marketing school of where they build up big pages and then they send clicks to people's offers. They get on the leaderboards for people who've sent the most clicks, and they win prizes. Now, this is really, I didn't know this is how it worked, actually. I thought with affiliate marketing, you sent traffic, some of that traffic converted to leads, some of that traffic converted to sales, you earn commission, end of story. But actually what happens is you actually make the most money from winning competitions. affiliate competitions, and those can be for the most number of clicks sent, the most number of leads sent, or the most number of sales. There's generally 3 competitions running on any promotion. And so what they do,
so the gamifications in with the affiliate
yes,
marketing.
absolutely, yeah,
it's making it into a game.
yeah, and that's a great thing, and it doesn't actually hurt the end user, and it makes it a lot of fun to be involved with these things. The other thing that happens is you get to go on masterminds. If you're one of the top performers on a regular basis, you get invited to masterminds, which is where you get put up in Vegas for a week, and all dinners and entertainment are comped, and it's to make sure that you're more loyal the next time the person who's hosting the mastermind is running a promotion. So it's all great fun, and it was a bit of an eye-opener for me, because it means that the person running the traffic doesn't, they can often spend to get the traffic because they'll make it back on the sales on the back end.
Yeah.
But actually how they make their money to live on is with the prize pots that they win. Now, so this is all really interesting. But the more interesting thing about it is this person who was referred to me has been making a seriously great living doing this, because he's obviously, with 3 pages that have got over millions of likes, you can send an awful lot of traffic from those pages just by putting up a meme with a URL, and out of X number of million people, a certain number will click. And so he's made a lot of money from being on the leaderboards of these things and making money on the back end of affiliate commission and winning prizes on the leaderboards. But it stopped working. So, he now needs someone to fix that, because that is a big, big problem for him. And I was referred as someone who could fix that, because I know all about how to take traffic, segment it, survey it, nurture it, put it through an Infusionsoft, system. Depending on what people click and what they say their interests are, you then nurture them and make them smaller. I mean, I know how to do the whole thing, and I could solve his problem. But what really got my goat was he said to me, we had a conversation about this. He said, yeah, okay, it sounds brilliant. He said, I didn't want to do all this work, but if you can do it, that's awesome. He said, so I'm looking on it as a joint venture. I said, oh, okay. Yeah, so he said, well, I've had several people offer to do it on a joint venture basis already. I said, okay. And I said, well, I need to charge a fee as well, but I would be happy for that fee to be recouped from my eventual share of the royalties. Mm-hmm. And he said, oh, no, other people have offered to do it for free. I said, well, you should go with them then. Yeah. because it's all about the fact that I was actually offering, and he said, why don't you send me an email laying out your proposal? And I said, well, it'll be short and sweet, because I don't want to spend too much time on this, because I'm not being paid to spend too much time on this. So I sent him my offer. It was fairly fair. It involved a small monthly retainer, 3 months paid up front, because that's how long it's going to take to set it up and get it all running and tweak it and test it and all that stuff. I said, but recoupable from any my share of the profits. And I named a percentage figure, which at the last minute I increased, to be honest, because I thought I might as well start from my ideal position. And he came back and he said, your proposal is completely unacceptable. It's terrible for me. I said, okay, so here's the thing. You gave me no clue about what you would be willing to spend, what you would be willing to pay, and what you would be willing to give away in terms of percentages. You told me you wanted a joint venture proposal, but you gave me no clue about where would be good for you. I said, why don't you come back and tell me what you'd be willing to pay? And he said, oh, no. He said, when it's so far away of a good position, I'm not interested in negotiating. I said, okay, cool. I said, we both learned some lessons then, didn't we? And I really was 100% prepared for him to walk away. And I was thinking, I've dodged a bullet there, because he's an idiot, an arrogant idiot at that. So, I'll be interested to see what happens now, because he will, I suspect, and that's why he keeps popping up on Skype and just, typing furious. I think he's probably, as most entrepreneurs are, a bit dyslexic or ADD.
Yeah.
He doesn't really want to sit and type out a proposal of what he'd be willing to do. But again, he's trying to get the best outcome for him for nothing. And I totally appreciate that. But at some level in business, when you get to a certain stage, you have to be prepared to invest. You're not going to get good people cheap or free, are you?
Well, absolutely. And I think the position I always seem to start off, and I think definitely to my own detriment, I think at times, and you learn as you go along and you tweak, but it's always to, I I'm going to use the word detest. It's not natural for me to take something for free.
I know.
It's like, why would I expect someone to put in time and effort? Oh, that's so interesting because I give so much for free. That's so
I had a
interesting.
conversation last week with someone where he was advertising on Facebook. He was advertising that he would do you a funnel plan, and it was for free. And I knew him. It was someone we interviewed. It was Neil
Uh-huh.
Stafford. We interviewed on the
Yes.
summit,
Mhm.
and he said to me on the call, "Why didn't if you wanted something like this, why didn't you just hit me up and I'd have done it for you for no price?" I said, "Because I'm not like that. I don't expect people to do.
No.
I'd never ask anyone to do anything for free, even if you are a mate."
But yet we both give freely.
Uh,
Isn't that funny?
Well, I don't give my time freely anymore unless it's someone I really care about. What I do give is
All right.
resources.
So I'm special.
No resources. I look, Irene. You've been a client of mine over the years. You supported me to go to America to work with Rich, and I came back and shared what I learned. You have supported me over the years, so you'll always have my time. But and I hope you'd always feel able to ask for it. But giving away, what you need to do is set yourself up so you can give resources. So if someone comes to me now asking for mentorship, as people regularly do, I will just say, look, you can join the inner circle for $79 a month. You can join my mastermind, or here's a free report, here's a free video you might enjoy.
Mhm.
Get loads of resources set up at different price points and free, so
Yeah.
that when people ask for your
Mhm.
help for nothing, you can just point them in the direction of that, and it makes you look good and it makes them feel like they're getting some help. Anyway, we must press
Yeah.
on. What's fueled your fire this
We
week?
know. I'm going to say people who love what they do for work. And I'll tell you why this has come up.
Mhm.
Because I think it's so obvious when people do love what they do, isn't it? So I've never bothered with the Olympics before. We have the Olympics on now. I've never bothered before, but I've watched a few sections on the TV, Lily, and it's just so obvious, these athletes, these professionals, they absolutely love it. They're absolutely full in. And when we were away a couple of days, as it is at the weekend, we went to visit one of these stately homes, as you do, and it was a gorgeous experience, and it's packed full of volunteers.
Yeah,
These are people, local people, who are giving up their time because they love the house, they love the history, they love the environment, they love the other people who they're with. And it's so obvious.
yeah,
So I love it when I come across things like that, because business improvement and, making things better is what I love. So when I obviously see people who are passionate about what they do and are really enjoying their work, I love that.
yeah.
That's definitely great.
One of my secret vices is Gardener's World on a Friday night. And I don't know why I love it, apart from the fact I love Monty Don and I love his backstory. But
Uh-huh.
they regularly go to gardens where they're restoring gardens back to what the original garden designer had in mind. Or
Mm-hmm.
they went to the house of Vita Sackville West, was it? And it's supposed to be a very famous garden, in a lovely house, and it's got a walled cottage garden and all that stuff. Anyway, all these people were there digging and digging away to restore the garden to the former glory, and the original vision. And I find that kind of stuff very inspiring. Lovely.
Yeah. And what's fueled your fire?
Well, YouTube, funny enough. I sort of got a little bit interested in it again. I mean, I've had YouTube channels for years. I've never done much with them. I'm not very good at being
Mm-hmm.
consistent, etc. But what's fueled my fire about it is Phoebe's got into it, and big time. She's doing
Yes.
makeup reviews and how to do your eyebrows and all this stuff, and she's very inspired by some people who've got a YouTube channel called Judy's Life, and she has been for a while, and basically she's sort of got the bug now, and so we invested in a YouTube tuition course, John Penberthy, that I've mentioned a couple of times, and I really did it for her because just to encourage her, but I learned enough from it to be able to make sure that my videos get more views as well by enhancing
Mm-hmm.
their SEO. So basically you do a bit of research on your keyword after you've done your video to find you don't try and scam it. You just basically think, what's this
No.
video about? What's the key phrase? Let's find a 3 to 4 to 5 word key phrase. We can hang this around. You use that in the title, you use that in the first line of the description, you use that in the last paragraph of the description, and you put in a few YouTube videos that are related, ideally ones that have got the most number of views. And what that does is it makes your YouTube video more Googleable. And it struck me very much this week that, yes, I'm going to carry on doing my daily recordings on Facebook Live and Snapchat, but you can actually download those videos now, and you can even download the ones you do, I think, on Instagram video, which are only a minute long. But what you should be doing as you do any of these videos on any of these platforms is uploading them to your YouTube channel. Because the thing that struck me this week and fueled my fire is that while those platforms are pushing video hard, so you're getting good reach on those, then they're ephemeral. And the thing about YouTube videos is they're there to work for you forever. I had a skim through some of my old videos that have, spasmodically been uploaded over the years. And one of them's actually had 20,000 views without even being on the search engines. And I know that my sister Sarah's had a couple. Well, one's up to 600,000 views now. So if it was optimized for the search engines in the terms of the title, the tags, the description, then it would probably be getting even more views. And you can make money from YouTube videos even if you're not selling anything in them, just by turning the AdSense thing on where you can earn from AdSense. So that fueled my fire quite majorly on video creation. So I'm pushing forward with that, even though I'm not very good at it, but I'm not bad at talking to camera, but I'm not very good with the technical aspects of making sure the light's right and all that stuff. But it's got me going, Irene. It's got me going.
I know I've noticed quite a lot of people talking about YouTube. It's funny how these things go in cycles, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah, the thing to remember is YouTube is owned by Google, and if you optimize your videos properly, you're quite likely to be found in the search engines. And obviously, if someone's looking, they put in a key phrase in Google and they see a video. We're such a video orientated world now that they're much more likely to click on your video, even if it's halfway down the page, than they are to click on the top search returns.
If you are bored by working for someone else, or tired of trading time for money, or a business owner who's ready to travel and have adventures, then Own It the Summit is for you. We interviewed 18 inspiring entrepreneurs enjoying unique lives. Now you can dip into those lives and decide which of the business models will work for you. Our interviews will show you how to design your dream life beyond the laptop and how to live and work in your favourite ways and places. Our intrepid 18 share the tools and techniques they use to work on the go and what living and working in total freedom really feels like. Find out more at ownitthesummit.com.
You're bringing our client challenge of the week, I understand.
Oh, yes, I understand that I am. And I'll tell you, I've gone backwards and forwards on what this might be. I'm going to use myself as an example.
Oh, okay.
So this is a challenge that I'm personally facing with business and life and the likes. And I think at the core of it, so if I was to start to frame it and say, one of my, if not my core value is freedom. And when I left my job 8 years ago to set up on my own to do something for myself, I've kind of noticed I've gone through quite a few iterations of a business. I keep calling myself self-employed, really, but I do have a small team that I've built over the years to help out deliver some of the activities that we do in the business. So that's it. So I've gone through various iterations, but when I start to get customers and the money starts to come in, it's like I feel as though I no longer have that freedom, and I feel trapped and responsible for then having to deliver something and help out, which is the whole purpose of being in business. So I think that this is something I've only just really started to notice as well, is that I get to that stage and then I'll think of a new business idea, because I think, well, that'll give me more freedom. So then I'll go and then I'll invest thousands of more pounds and hundreds, if not thousands of hours setting up another iteration of the business. And that pattern then continues. And I've just noticed that I'm just on the cusp of that again, because I've set up the membership site, which is the Managing People Toolbox, which is to help managers. And I think that it's the best thing I've created yet in terms of allowing me to have the freedom lifestyle that I definitely do need. My challenge is, how do I stick with this long enough to see that it's a business that can actually pay for itself, instead of me now having the urge to, oh, well, that's set up now, you know, there's some paying customers now, I've got to deliver on that, so what else can I start that might be more freeing than what I already have? Does that make any sense whatsoever?
It does, and it helps that I know you and know your business.
Right.
What struck, I am massively keen on membership sites. Obviously, that's why I was talking to Neil Stafford the other day, because I've had membership sites and because I've never really focused on them to the exclusion of all else, they've always been a bit half-hearted. I mean, I've got up to, you know, a few hundred members at one time, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough because I tell you why. Because low price membership sites, the engagement is much less, because people who invest a little bit rather than a lot don't engage as much, so it's harder work. But there are now some lovely tools to help with that, like intercom.io. But we're not going to get into tactics here. What we need to talk about is the big picture and strategy. When you're obviously, you've got your top paying clients, who are the people who come to you for strategic and leadership and business stuff. And they pay you very well, but you have to, it's like personal, isn't it? They expect you to be there. They expect you to come to them. Or do you have any that, have you had any that have been happy to work virtually at the top level?
Not yet.
Okay. Because
it can. It could definitely work that way, but I haven't got my mind straight yet as to make that offer. I think because as well of my clients lately of being local, I've never worked with someone where it would be travelling, 200 miles to go and see someone.
Well, I think this is one of your blocks, is the fact that you don't think global. You just said there, not local is 200 miles away. So I think if you could think global, then your top level customers, because you have got a brilliant reputation in your industry and lots of social proof and all that stuff, there's no reason why you couldn't work with people in Europe or North America virtually who are in the construction industry. I definitely think you need to keep in that industry or related, because that's where your authority is. Coming to the membership site, go on.
Because with the construction side of things, I can see for the core offering, if you like, how that's. But I play backwards and forwards with whether I should keep the membership site within that arena as well, because it is vast.
I totally feel. Go on, say what you're going to say.
Then I go back to being restricted, the feeling of restriction.
Yeah, I think that when I talked to Neil Stafford the other day, the biggest things I took away from our conversation was that he, along with a lot of other top coaches and mentors, are working on the Frank Kern model nowadays, which is that you market your top or middle level. You don't market your one-to-one, you market your mastermind level. So that's where you work in small groups with top people. So you'd be working with your business leaders, but you wouldn't be selling them one-to-one mentoring and coaching. You'd be selling them small group masterminds. And then what happens is anyone who doesn't take you up on that, and that is done through the usual process of advertising to them, getting them onto a webinar. The webinar is pre-recorded, so it gives them a chance to find out who you are, know, like, and trust you, and then they apply to speak to you. And then you go through a scripted interview process where you're encouraging them to join your mastermind. And then what happens is if someone can't afford it, or for whatever reason they don't want to be in that kind of environment, but they want access to your resources, they go into your lower cost membership site. And you can even offer someone a trial of that membership site after they've signed up for the webinar, where they'll be pitched the mastermind. And that's how people like Bernadette, Doyle, people like Neil Stafford, people like Frank Kern, anyone who's in one of Frank Kern's masterminds, that's the process they're being taught. And it occurs to me that process would work really well for you, because you're talking about, and it's the James Schramko model as well, except he does it slightly differently. You're talking about 1 hour a week or 1 to 2 hours a week on a small group telephone call, where people come and they report their progress on their goals that they set previously, and they talk about the issues they've got achieving those goals, and you help them, whether that's by giving them a resource or giving them a thought process that's different. So, and the final thing I want to say about this is, before we come back to you and how you feel about that and what you're thinking about everything, I was interested when I saw your membership site that you'd gone for pitching it at managers. I think you need to do a duplicate of that site into your Building Top Companies brand, but pitch it at business leaders. So the guys who perhaps aren't ready for a mastermind environment yet, but would like some of your resources and access to you once a month, perhaps. So for the people on the mastermind level, they get a weekly call in a group, and the people who are on the member level, they say £97 a month or 90. And that's another thing. I think, if you're going to go global, you need to go dollars. But working with the business leaders, because the problem with managers is they're employees. And some of them, a very tiny minority of them, will want to be the best managers they can be, but most of them won't be interested. They're not interested in improving themselves. They're not interested in being better at their jobs. They're not interested in investing their own money in something, So that's just my sort of thoughts about the management niche. What's bringing that? What's that brought up for you?
I think when you're talking about the Bernadette and the Frank Kern side of things, I can see how that works for a coaching type world. For the main business that I have, there is a degree of setting up strategy, but then a lot of the help is actually providing business services.
So you're providing admin, HR, and marketing.
So yeah, so it could be, we'll take on the project of creating your newsletter that'll go out to employees or customers, or we can set up and review your contracts of employment. So it's business services around those things.
So when you go to see business leaders, the guys who are running the company, what do you talk about?
How stressed they are. How difficult it is. How there's no life to be had.
Yeah, how to be better business leaders and have a better life. So that would be that.
So that is done through the business services, So we're able to support them, so we can take some things off their plate. The things get done. They don't have to nanny. They don't have to babysit.
I bet £1 million if I had it. that you could create a 10-step program that every business leader should go through to improve their business and leadership and management qualities, and get a better life, get more time off. And I bet anything you like that could be run through a group mastermind program and then integrated into a membership site, with your business services business being a beneficiary of creating this global community of people running construction businesses. if you wanted it to be. In the same way that James Schramko had his membership site and his Inner Circle Mastermind, but he created two businesses, standalone businesses, one for search engine optimization and one for website building, because that's what most of his membership people needed. And then he's just sold those off, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did that with the Money Gym. I was learning about financial intelligence, and I thought, okay, so what would I, clueless me, 2 years ago, have needed to know, to have needed to go through in a step-by-step sequence, month by month, to become more financially intelligent at the end of the year. And so I put together a 10-step program. It's always a 10-step program because people want to have time off in August and December to catch up or recoup, recharge their batteries. So that's why it's a 10-step program, not a 12-step program. And it also gives you 2 months off, which is really nice. Judith never works in August or December.
No.
So that's, if you were still my client, that's what I'd be encouraging you to think about. How does it feel, and what are you thinking about the whole? Because there's a lot of freedom there. You're not having to travel anywhere to deliver in person. You could perhaps become a speaker if you wanted to be. If you don't want to be, you could just do webinars if you fancy doing that. There's lots of ways to market that without having to be a star creator profile. Because I know what are you? You're a mechanic something.
Mechanic.
Yeah.
Mechanic creator lord.
Oh,
or
okay.
Something or other.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Because you're a bit less flamboyant than the rest of us.
Oh my goodness, definitely. I'm surprised I even said yes to this.
So what you think? What are you thinking?
So what am I thinking? I'm thinking I think what you've said is again is a major shift. What I'd be more inclined to go with. See that to me is okay, so put this to one side and start focusing on something else entirely again.
Well, you're not though, are you? It's just an evolution of what you're doing now. It's formalising what you do informally with business leaders at the top level. It's not offering them anymore the personal visits and everything, but it's expanding globally beyond 200 miles around Sunderland. Mm-hmm. And the membership site, there's no reason on earth why that couldn't be duplicated very quickly into your Building Top Companies brand. But with the sales page rewritten for business leaders in the construction industry globally rather than managers. Mm-hmm. I think. But I might be wrong. You tell me if I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Nobody knows.
So that's interesting. So we're not now talking about the mechanics of actually doing it. We're talking about the fact whether you don't know if there's a market there for that.
Well, you don't, do you, until you put something out there. Okay,
so now we're talking about how can we validate the idea with the minimum of expense and time. And how I would go about it. Have you got a Building Top Companies Facebook page?
Yes.
Okay. Do you put anything on it, content-wise?
Mm-hmm. Well, just the blog posts and.
Okay. And are those written geared towards managers or business leaders in the construction industry?
The Building Top Companies more about leaders.
Okay. Cool.
More focused on business owners.
Okay. And do you have any blog posts on there? Do you put it on natively, or are you just sharing a link to the blog post on the blog?
I don't know. You'd have to ask my Sue.
Okay, so
I don't do anything. She does things, but I don't know whether that's native or sharing a link.
I'll have a look at it after the call for you and make some suggestions. But what I would suggest is that you as you go back through, you get her to go back through your blog. Find some great content that is specifically geared towards business owners in the construction industry. Lift that content out of the blog and put it into the page as a native blog post. That's what it means, native. It's not just linking to somewhere else. It's actually in the page. And then I would look
right.
to boost those posts to a very specific audience on Facebook in North America, Canada, and probably Australia and New Zealand, UK and Ireland, and start building an audience of people who like and interact with those blog posts. And then that'll tell you if there's any interest and if you can get any response. And if you can get in front of the right people and get interest and response, then I would definitely say it's worth pursuing a bit further. But that's a good way to validate an idea and find if you can get in front of an audience. Because what everyone listening doesn't know is that Irene and I have tried running some Facebook ads for her managers orientated membership site, and it was, well, I mean, you sort of gave up after a little while, and we could talk about that separately, but I've got this strong feeling all the people I've worked with on Facebook ads, when they're aiming at managers or people who are employed, it's a much, much bigger push up a mountain than it is when you're aiming at people who've got a financial incentive to improve the way they do things.
Yeah. There's a podcast. There's an American company called Manager Tools. They do a podcast, but their business models around consulting and also conferences. It's called Manager Tools, and there are 1 million+ downloads a month on their podcast.
Yeah. So what are you trying to say? You're trying to say if they can make.
So my inference is that well, yeah. So there are a lot of managers who are interested in.
Well, no, perhaps there isn't managers that are buying them or listening to the podcast. Well, okay, so here's the thing. Perhaps managers are listening to the podcast so it's free. Perhaps a lot of their people who are listening to it are actually entrepreneurs and business leaders who need to be better at management.
Yeah, no, it's all right. And see where you're coming from. I'll give that some thought.
And that would be a great.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
God, is there a Facebook page for that podcast? Because if there is, then that's someone you could target. That's a page you could target in your advertising.
Yeah.
The thing is, you've got to, in order to make a business work nowadays, you've got to get traffic to it. There's only two ways to get traffic. One is to pay for it, and two is to work for it. Working for it means doing things like blogging and content marketing, in which case I would strongly recommend that everyone gets the book Content Machine by Dan Norris. Because if you're going to build a business around content marketing, that is a brilliant book, both in terms of strategy and concept and tactics, how to actually do it. But that's your time. You're going to pay for that with your time or your team's time, and that's fine. If you're happy to do that. It's slow though. So if you want some instant feedback, you're going to have to pay for traffic. And if you're going to pay for traffic, you really need to get in front of the right people with an offer that's going to convert them to leads that will give you the luxury of being able to nurture those leads over a period of time. And it's no more, there's nothing more complicated than that. You just got to decide which way you want to go. And as I say, I strongly advise that you look at going into a marketplace where people are either rabidly passionate about their topic, i.e. it's a hobby or a passion or something like that. Because I've got a client who's in the most esoteric niche you can imagine, and she's getting clicks for 7 pence and leads for 17p. And thousands of them a week. I mean, honestly, I nearly cry when I look at her reports every week, so I would kill for that kind of traffic and leads. But it's in a really esoteric, passion-orientated market. Or you've got to go somewhere where someone's got a big fat pain. And whether that's, bad skin, or they need to run their business better, or they're super stressed because they've got no home life, you've got to think of what's the biggest pain of your marketplace. Uh-huh. And then either get in front of them with content marketing or pay to get in front of them. And the quickest way is to pay. And if you can turn paid traffic, as Irene and I have discussed many times, if you can turn paid traffic into even enough business on the front end to part pay for that traffic, you're onto a winner.
Yeah.
Because you've got your business services on the back end as well, haven't you? So it's not just about your mastermind members or your membership site members. It's bringing in new customers for your business services all the time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, you've given me something to think about there. Thank you.
I'm quite passionate about it, as you can hear.
Oh, definitely. Should we move on to word of the week?
Yes, we probably should. Judith's probably listening, thinking, what are they doing? Get on with it. What's your word of the week?
Get on with it. Mine's attitude.
Oh, nice one. Go on.
Attitude. Linking back to the Olympians who give it their all, to the enthusiastic volunteers that we have throughout the world. I've got a friend who lives with cancer, and her attitude is, it can only possibly be working for her. She's doing such a great job in living with cancer. To the local council representatives who obviously see the public as an inconvenience. So their attitude being completely different and on a different level entirely. So yeah, my word of the week is attitude.
Nice word. Everyone says, Gary Vaynerchuk says, who might as well be God as far as I'm concerned, you should hire for attitude and train for skills. Because you can't.
Definitely.
Yeah, he would always sack someone who's super talented, who treats people badly.
Well, one of the Gary Vaynerchuk videos that I watched, I shared with my LinkedIn contacts in particular, because he talks about people skills being the number one skill.
Yeah.
That's needed in business.
Yeah.
Not talent in other areas, but their people skills. So that was useful.
Emotional intelligence, exactly. Pardon me, which is what attitude is, isn't it? If someone's intuitively emotionally intelligent, they've usually got the right attitude. Mine's reflect, because I've been doing a lot of reflection over the last few weeks, over the last few months, in fact. But definitely now that I have all my tech in place, I've got more time to think about things. And actually, when I'm coming up with ideas for Facebook Live videos, I have to reflect on things and think, how can I make this useful for people watching my Facebook Live videos? That's what I've been doing. Project updates. What do you want to cover today on that?
Well, I think it's probably worth mentioning that for the membership site, I'd put out a trial-free offer to 400 of my contacts on LinkedIn, of which I had 2 take up the offer, which is 0.5%.
Okay.
So there's definitely room for some improvement there. But off the back of that, because I put out a message, interestingly, I've had a response back from a guy who runs or is involved in a trade association, asking if he can speak to me. So that would be interesting to see where that might lie, where that might end up. So that.
Can I just ask, did you know about the trade association before, or was it bringing a new one to your attention?
I know about the trade associations. I have not yet done anything proactively to reach out to them. I have done the research in getting contact details and stuff, so that's on the list of things to explore.
I'd split your approach. I'd offer some of them not a free trial, but a £1 trial or whatever, and some of them I'd offer a discount, an ongoing discount if your membership site software allows for that. Because sometimes you get, by offering it free or really low cost, you just get people who'll never even turn up and have a look. They're buying through fear of missing out. Whereas if you offer a good discount to the members of a trade association, an ongoing discount, then that can often work really well and doesn't develop.
Yeah, I've started a page in my notebook, which is my ideas around trade associations and potential offers and potential joint venture things. So that'll be useful to explore. And particularly going back to the challenge point, if I change the focus away from managers, because a lot of the members of trade associations will generally be the business owner or certainly a director.
Just to give everyone. There you go, Irene. You're being honoured by the postman's presence. Regular feature on
famous postman.
Can you just give people context as we're talking? I should have asked you to do this earlier. How many? I know you've done the research on this. How many construction owners are in the UK, and how many construction companies globally?
Oh my goodness!
Or in North America, just roughly.
I don't know the global figures, but within the UK, I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's hundreds of thousands.
Hundreds of thousands, yeah. We're not talking about a small niche here, are we? And
no, construction's huge.
Yeah.
And specialist contractors within construction make more money than general contractors.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where the focus has gone with them in core business as well.
And just
but from that communication that went out as well, I've got an approach to perhaps have a premium support package person come on board. So I've got to have another discussion around that.
Right.
So whilst my 0.5% take-up offer is really quite low, there's other avenues that's potentially opened up as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Your premium package, that's the one you need to look at, because if that's the one that's making you feel trapped when you sell one, you're not going to sell as many as you could. That's the one that needs to be tweaked into some kind of mastermind small group thing, I think.
Yeah, I think I'm probably there in my mind. Just a little bit further work. I'll get there.
Yeah, of course you will, because you got the right attitude.
Yay!
And you're doing a lot of reflection.
Exactly. How are your projects going?
Well, it's really weird because I've stopped doing things on. I've realised I've got to a point now. I've spent a lot of time changing things, changing my ideas, and every time you change things, as you know and have realised, you have to change everything. You have to change the tech to match. So I've now arrived at a rather wonderful place where I know that the two businesses are Clicks and Leads and coaching and mentoring. And I've got all the tech in place for both of those. So it's now just a question of marketing and trying different marketing strategies. In addition to the Facebook Live videos going on to YouTube as well, I've got some Facebook ad strategies I want to try. For example, you do one of these native posts and you wait and you promote it to the people who like your page, i.e., you just let it goes out from your page, and then perhaps you share it on organically with Twitter and LinkedIn and all that stuff, but you bring everyone back to your Facebook post to comment, and then once it's had some comments and post engagements and likes, you then make an ad out of it. So you create an ad that's optimized for engagement, and because you've already had some engagement, apparently it slashes the cost per view price and the cost per engagement price. And as long as there's a good call to action at the end of it, people are going to come to your website and opt in for whatever you've got if you make an offer at the end of the post. So I'm doing lots of experimenting with that. So my projects are more around marketing what I've got rather than brand new projects. So I'll let you know the results of that on a future show. So who or what a future show? Who or what's impressed?
Well, I'm going to say, and it's not just this week, but absolutely every single week, and it's business owners. It's the people who have the courage to go out and give it a go. They employ people, they create something from an idea, they take on the risk. I just think business owners are magnificent people, absolutely magnificent people.
It does require a degree of bravery and balls that I think most people don't appreciate.
Well, I know I would agree that most people don't appreciate just exactly what goes into it. They see somebody sitting in their office, or they may see them drive up in their nice car and say, "Oh, it's all right for him."
Yeah.
And with having no appreciation of what actually goes on in the background.
Yeah.
And a business is lived 24/7 for the person who owns it.
Yeah. You can't switch off.
There's no switching off. Yeah. No matter what we might think that we can do in terms of putting things into compartments and having home life, and no, it's all merged. It's all into one.
Yeah, you can't do it.
And in the main, people do marvelous jobs.
Yeah, they do. Lovely. I'm becoming more and more obsessed with that topic. The fact that, anyone who was listening earlier and heard me just reel off what you need to do, it's tactics. That's easy. Mm-hmm. There's only a certain number of tactics. What really makes a difference is what goes on between the entrepreneur's ears, the business leader's ears. Because if they've got a negative voice telling them something won't work, then they're not going to try. that tactic.
I know,
and
exactly.
Yeah.
I know.
So we're all constantly...
And that's where I've seen the biggest success in the guys that I've worked with. It's the ones that have been open enough to take the time to listen to a perspective that I bring that is very different to most things they'll have ever heard. The ones who can take some of that new thinking on board are definitely the ones who've just gone
flying
and taken it and run with it and gotten the results.
Yeah,
definitely.
And what a lovely thing to be working in an industry where traditionally they're quite, old school, as it were, and it is quite male dominated, and you've got the opportunity to be like a beacon of shining female light
There's one of my clients calls me the business angel. He's a little business angel.
Oh, that's sweet. If a little patronising. But we love them. I mean, that whole blokey vibe.
I do look at it sweet.
I love that blokey vibe. Okay, what's impressed me is Buffer Pro. Now, Buffer is a tool I've strenuously ignored for years. My sister Sarah has slowly but surely brought me round to it. I was using Meet Edgar for a while, which I do still like, especially if you want to keep old good content coming out and getting shared across all your social media. But a tool that's not quite as expensive as Meet Edgar for a start is Buffer. And Buffer Pro, you can actually have, I think it's up to 10 accounts, and you can basically, for example, with your page building top companies, as well as your girls putting on your stuff onto it natively, you can actually get certain feeds coming in and sharing great content from websites and blogs that you really like and that you think your the leaders of your companies would appreciate. So, for example, TED Talks and things like that, and Mind Valley and stuff. If you're in the personal development niche, you can get great stuff coming in. And it also allows you to schedule that stuff to go out from the feeds you've chosen at optimum times for your page, so it looks at and it adjusts. So it looks at when you get the most engagement and on posts and pictures and memes and things, and it will schedule the content to go out at those times. So it's really a very nice little tool. Buffer Pro.
Excellent. I love technology as well. Yeah, it's just how technology come on, and it's amazing.
Yeah, incredible stuff. Well, Irene, have you enjoyed yourself?
I have, yes, thank you. And the sun is shining.
And the sun's shining, indeed. We usually talk about the weather at the beginning. We'll talk about it at the end now.
Hello.
Sunshine always helps. So lovely. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you,
been
Nicola.
an absolute pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
And let's have a chat about your potential directions now, because I find the whole construction industry thing completely fascinating. Speak to you soon.
Okay, that's great. All right then. Thanks, Nicola. Bye-bye.
It's a brand new day. Gotta take it on my way.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.